Shout out to all the women out there, the women founders out there. We respect you all.
Love you.
You get you. By the way,
Making all this money, bro.
women entrepreneurs
Are getting it.
are so good.
No,
at
they're
what
actually,
they do.
bro,
It's
they're
like
getting it.
That's true.
And it's mad. I
it's
love
crazy.
it.
But them being so good doesn't change the fact that in some sub-Saharan Africa, only 37% of women have a bank account compared with 48% of men. That's a gap of around 10%. A gap that has only widened over the past several years, and this is according to CNN, which is according to Donald Trump fake news. But
Fake news.
We'll take it because it's the only reference we have. And the figures are worse in North Africa, where about 2/3 of the adult population remains unbanked, and the gender gap to access to finance is 18%. And the reason they said that the access to finance is so big is because apparently in sub-Saharan Africa, the women and the ladies that may have business ideas and want to take up these business ideas are not so comfortable with the risk of taking out these massive loans,
yeah.
like the same way the men are.
Yeah.
So they don't take that what we like the risk. We call it a risk, but I feel like men are just we're very
And that's the thing with society and the way we've set things up.
Exactly.
It's you think, okay, the guy is supposed to go and do that.
Exactly. So there's a whole lot of mental barrier, as opposed not just mental barrier.
And
I'm saying
social.
mental barrier, social barriers,
Yeah.
and everything in between that sort of stops women from getting this funding. However, at the same time, we have raving reviews from almost every VC fund that I can think of that has put out a statement on their women entrepreneurs, and they say
Yes.
women entrepreneurs outperform men by 70%. Like
Yeah,
I think
it's
it
actually
was
quite high.
of the women entrepreneurs that were invested in, 70% gave an actual return compared to, I think it was 40% of the men. That is almost more than half
That's more than half.
of what the men are doing. And maybe it might be because there's more men being invested in
Yes.
as well.
Yeah,
and the women that are getting
proportion.
invested in at, the top.
Top, yeah.
But still it shows that women can produce results if you give them the chance. So the question is, from your experience, because you've gone through a lot of these pitches and stuff and consulted for a lot of these firms, how many women pitches do you see come through, and how many of them do you get through on their merits, do you think?
So the issue of funding women is a big one because, as you mentioned, they just don't get enough funding. And in fact, I would say as a subset of people that don't get funding, women are, one of the tops of that subset, right? And one of the reasons that one of the solutions to this is it's so simple. It's just forming funds that are only meant to invest in women. There's no other solution, because you have people that think in a certain legacy.
Yes.
Like their legacy is, we want, a type A, from, this background that is,
who went to this school.
who's often going to be a man,
Yeah.
and who's often going to, be it's a horse you're betting on.
The textbook. So
Exactly,
the same,
exactly.
same thing
It's a horse you're betting. I mean, it's also cultural, it's institutional, it's anthropological. Like there are so many issues around it, and it's the same thing that happened in politics in our country. People realize that women are actually not going to be voted into seats of power because, one, they're discouraged from running. Like from a very young age, they only see political leaders that are men, so they're already discouraged from running. And when you're trying to encourage them for running, the barriers to running for them are so much higher than they are for men. So what did our government do? What did governments start doing? They started imposing a third rule. So a third of seats in parliament and other places were reserved for women, like the gender rule. So affirmative action was created, meaning that women just, like, it was not optional for them to have a place. They must
have that,
it was
until it becomes,
that they
until
had
it
to
becomes
have
a
place,
regular
right?
thing.
Exactly.
You
So
have to enforce something.
Precisely. So, in the funding landscape, like, you need, the only solution I see that's going to work is that you need funds that, we were formed, like we raised our funds with the intention to only invest in women entrepreneurs. And no doubt they're successful. No doubt they are, outperforming men in a lot of regards. No doubt about that. But, can they get the money? Can they get the backing? It's about forming an institution that its sole mandate is just let's invest in women entrepreneurs. And I mean, I don't know how many there are. There are probably like one or a few in the entire continent that do just that.
Yeah.
But honestly, there needs to be more.
more, yeah.
There needs to be a reward for women entrepreneurs. So far, the reward system is not there. It's there for male entrepreneurs,
Yeah.
but for women entrepreneurs,
It's
there
not-
needs to be a
yeah.
reward system in place. And I mean, yeah, it's again starting at the institutional level. Can we have institutions that do this?
This,
Can we
yeah.
have, and the people that actually do this, you'll find that there will be women. There will
Yeah.
be women that have seen maybe I was
Women
a-
who've been in
Yeah.
the system.
exactly, and they thought
yeah.
maybe I was a founder. I found it really hard to get funding, but
Yeah.
now I will not let other young founders coming up find it this hard. So I'll
Correct.
form my own fund.
Nice.
So it needs to come, like ecosystem needs to just expand like that. And yeah, you're right. You have a lot of firms that are like, oh, our policy on women, our policy on like this group and this group, but like, will it actually
Yeah.
translate to anything?
Exactly.
So,
if
yeah.
there's no affirmative action.
Yeah, but if they say we've raised $100 million US
to
dollar
give
fund,
solely to
exactly,
women.
but
Yeah.
80% of it or proportion of it will only go to women founders.
There
That
you
matters.
go. Yeah.
You're then increasing the the investment to their startups. You're then encouraging a market. That's the only thing that matters, especially in this field. So I think that's the only solution I see.
That's nice. Yeah.
I do respect the women that are coming up in the entrepreneurial space. Entrepreneurial space, guys. I'm African.
Hey,
Let it be.
the language came on a boat.
It
It's
came on a
alright.
boat and it left on a boat. It didn't stay here. It dipped.
We can use Swahili if you want. Nah?
People do say when I speak Swahili, I sound like a Mzungu trying to speak Swahili.
So
Yeah, so it doesn't really help. So,